Welcome to The Inner Practice, where we explore the personal stories behind healing, growth, and transformation. In today's episode, I'm joined by Mel Grime, a yoga teacher and holistic practitioner whose journey from people-pleasing and perfectionism to authenticity and self-compassion is deeply inspiring. From a challenging childhood to motherhood, illness, and rediscovering herself through yoga and stillness, Mel's story reminds us that healing is never linear, but it's always possible. I'm so excited to hear Mel's story. I first met Mel at Her Space, which is a monthly women's gathering that takes place locally, organized by Mel. It was such a beautiful way to connect with other women, sharing stories and listening and being heard and finding community. Mel, thanks so much for being here. I'm so excited to hear your story. Mel, can you just start by taking us back, because you have such a beautiful accent. Can you take us back to England, kind of where it all began, your early life, kind of what shaped your formative years?
Sure. Well, first off, I am so excited to be here too. Thank you for having me. Yeah, so I spent my first 25 years of my life in England. I'm 50 now, so yeah, half of my life. I grew up in a household, 2 older sisters. I am the youngest, and I was brought up by a single mum. And my dad left when he was 5. So that was really where everything began. He was an alcoholic, so his addiction issues led to, let's say, a difficult relationship growing up. And when you're young, like I was 5 when he left, so at that time you're so young, and even through my teenage years you don't understand the complexity of addiction. You don't understand it's a disease. You don't understand the mental health struggles. None of that comes into it. All I saw was my dad, and why wasn't he there for me? Why couldn't he show me the love that I needed? And obviously my sisters, but I can only speak from my experience. And yes, so over the years I kept in contact with him, and at the beginning we saw him a lot, but as the addiction got worse, we would still see him, but the visits would be more challenging. He wouldn't be able to be present. He couldn't give us really what we needed as his 3 daughters. So that really molded, I think, a lot of the beliefs that I have about myself. A lot of them I have peeled back, but it's everything really stems back to that part of my childhood. And don't get me wrong, like my childhood was a great childhood. I lived in a house that was full of love. Like I was very close to my mum and my sisters, but with him being the only male figure really in my life, I didn't have any grandfathers. That really did impact me growing up, me becoming the woman I am today, I suppose.
And you're a few years younger than me, but you didn't talk about it. Wasn't addiction, right? You didn't talk about it, because I remember I had family and it was hidden, right? It was not talked about. Yeah. So can I guess that impacted it as well? Like, Dad's different, and I don't know why, and it's kind of shameful. That was a question mark after that.
Yeah, my mum was always very open about everything, and because my sisters were older, Kirsty's 3 years older, Sue's 6, so I would listen to them a lot too, and so they could understand a bit more. But absolutely, we couldn't. Mental health wasn't discussed. Therapy, I'd never even heard of therapy. Growing up in England. And I think it's not just England, it's everywhere. We joke about England having that stiff upper lip, but I think it's that generation and the generations prior, we weren't talking about our emotions. We didn't know how to. We shoved everything down. And especially being a woman, I feel like I learnt to be a people pleaser.
Right.
To, women in those days, 50 years ago, it's a long time, really. We sat in the background. We didn't upset anybody. We were there to please everybody else. I was a rule follower. Don't get anything wrong, so you don't step out of line and upset everybody. So, I can see those aspects that absolutely were part of, I would think, society and generational. But then, yes, I like now sitting here as a 50-year-old and having gone through my own mental health issues, looking back at my dad, I can now see how much he was struggling. And I can see that it wasn't that I wasn't lovable, it was that he didn't love himself. But as a child and a teenager, I couldn't articulate that and understand it.
Yeah, and I think that's, like you had said, that's really hard because you blame yourself.
Oh,
right?
yes.
Like, my dad's not feeling well. It must have something to do with me.
Yeah.
And then you're right, like, I resonate so closely with that people pleasing. If I only loved dad more, or, if I was only a better girl, or all these problems would go away.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like, I think all those habits in me came from, that feeling of abandonment. And not good enough, not lovable enough. All of that stemmed, and I've done years of therapy, all of it stemmed back from that time.
Yeah, particularly like you mentioned, and I'm not English, but, emotions weren't expressed in my family. That's probably a generational thing, but, seeing English, that's well ingrained in that population of that stiff upper lip, like very stoic kind of personality.
Yeah.
Which is fascinating because seeing you now, you're very loving. And so I'm really curious on that transformation there. So can you talk about, because you had a little bit of a pathway going from England to Australia to Canada. And so can you share a little bit about that path and maybe how those transitions helped you along the way or hindered you?
Yeah, it changed my life. Like, I booked a round the world ticket, was only planning on being away from England for a year. I had a really good job in London. My best friend and I, we worked together, so we were going to go traveling, went through Asia, ended up in Australia. And this was 2001. And I fell in love with Australia. Like, I felt home when I was there. And so I traveled around Australia. I met my then husband in Australia. We spent 6 weeks traveling together, and then he went back to Canada and I had a work visa. So I actually ended up staying in Australia for 3 years. It took me like 2 years to get residency to come here. But I loved it there. I don't think I was ready to leave. And being in Australia and traveling, it changed my life because not only did I meet Dave, and then we've now been together, 23 years. But for me personally, I remember this time in Australia just thinking how free I felt. And that freedom, I was 25, 26, 27, something like that. And like, no responsibilities. Like, I didn't have a home I had to pay the bills on. I didn't have a job that I had to go to. I had a job I could go back to, which was the plan. But, it's that time in my life where you're young and free. You don't have a partner. You don't have kids. And I didn't have the family responsibilities. I could be selfish. And growing up in England, the word selfish was a very negative thing. And I think it still is today, which is something I talk about a lot with my clients. But I felt this sense of freedom, and with that freedom came authenticity, which I couldn't articulate back then. Could never have said that word. I didn't know what it was. But now I look back and I think when I met Dave in 2002, he met me probably at a time where he met the real Mel. Without any masks on. And I think that's probably a testament to why we're still together today. If he'd have met me in London at that time, probably would have been a very different person he'd met.
So I'm really curious, did that freedom that you talk about in Australia, did that come from the non-people-pleasing Mel? And was that the mask that came off of the authenticity?
I think that's part of it for sure. And I wasn't trying to be perfect. I wasn't trying to mold myself into somebody that I thought Dave wanted, because I'd done that in past relationships because of that abandonment issue and that feeling of unlovable, not good enough with my dad. I can see so clearly now looking back that in the relationships I was in, I wasn't Mel. I was trying to be the Mel that I thought they wanted me to be. And so I would shape shift, I call it. Whereas Dave met the real Mel, and that was the Mel without those masks on for the most part.
How did that come out? I mean, I'm really curious. How can you just be 24, 25 years old and say, that's it, mask is coming off, I'm going to be... That's
well, you don't...
fascinating.
Yeah, like I obviously didn't consciously know it. I can articulate it a lot better now because I look back on it. But I think because I just had this freedom, I was in this country with a backpack on my back, staying in hostels, meeting the most amazing people, and other than my best friend, no one knew me. So I didn't have to prove that proving things to people. Right. That all just went, and I think I was just so free in the fact of no routine, no responsibilities, that it just naturally happened. Don't worry, the masks went back on. They weren't gone forever, but for that period, I think they just naturally fell off because I was in the right place, the right time, and I felt that freedom.
I love that. Certainly upon reflection, as a 55-year-old looking back, I often tell my husband when we travel, I'm like, we don't know anybody and they don't know us. So just be who you are.
Isn't it beautiful?
It is so beautiful and so freeing just to be like, I will never meet these people again, so I'm just going to be who I am.
Yeah.
But that took a long time. That's why I'm impressed that you're able to do that when you're so young. But the mask went back on.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a protective thing, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's my safety, my control. I still catch myself in these patterns. I become aware of it a lot quicker. But so I moved to Canada in December 2004, so 21 years ago. Came from an Australian summer to a Canadian winter, and coming from England, had never experienced anything. And the snow back then was like, we got a lot of snow. I came here in my little crop red winter jacket, which I look back now and I'm like, what were you thinking?
We have a friend from Atreya, and he's like, why do people talk about the weather all the time? I'm like, because every person who comes from a different country talks about the shock.
I know. My husband always said when he knew I made it through the first winter, he knew I was here to stay. But it was, so the transition from Australia to Canada, I actually found very hard, because I'd gone from being Miss Independent my whole life to then having to rely on Dave, because I came here, I didn't have my license, so I couldn't drive, plus it was on the other side of the road and in the winter. And then I also couldn't work because my residency hadn't been finalised. And so I was relying on him completely. I didn't have any friends, like I had Dave. And so going from Miss Independent and this freeing feeling to being solely dependent on him, my masks started coming back on, because I felt like I wasn't good enough, I couldn't provide, and that's a big one that goes on for a while. I wasn't very good at asking for help, so I started to shove things down as to how I was feeling. I wasn't used to expressing my emotions when they were uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. Easy to express emotions when they're comfortable and happy. And then, it was a very big transition, and I remember I tried to self-sabotage many times in our early relationship, because again, that feeling of abandonment, I really thought that he was going to end up leaving me. I couldn't feel safe that somebody was actually going to stay with me. Even though he'd known the real Mel when we were away, this Mel was very different. Right. And so the walls went up, the masks went on, and
So when he does leave, it was, I told you so, I knew it was going to happen.
Yeah, proof.
That self-fulfilling prophecy. Yeah. I'm just not good enough.
See, told you.
There's another check mark to prove that. Yeah, that's tough. That's tough. But you became a mom.
I did.
And to 2 boys.
Yes.
And bringing joy and a challenge. And can you share a little bit, because you shared a story with me about your son and how it was kind of a little bit of a turning point, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I always say my kids are my biggest teachers. I love being a mum. But yes, the word challenging is probably an understatement for me. I always thought I was going to have girls. I come from a family of girls. They've all had girls. And then I have 2 boys.
Surprise!
Yeah. But I now know I was meant to have boys for the lessons that I have learned. So Ben is now 17. Sam is 12. And yeah, my turning point came in 2017. So I had a 4-year-old and a 9-year-old. And it changed because I think the masks couldn't stay on anymore, and I finally broke. Yeah. So I started having panic attacks at work. It would only ever be in sessions with clients, and at the time I was a practicing nutritionist. So I would have the panic attack. I would push through it. As you know, I did. I was very good at pushing and doing and striving and hustling. That was what led me to this place. And then I remember one day in particular, I came home from work, and with my panic attacks, I always had a 12-hour fever. Very strange, but every single time I'd get the issues with the breathing, the tight chest, but I would also get a fever, and it would always last 12 hours. Go to bed, wake up the next morning, be gone, back to normal.
So you were in a panic attack and you would develop a fever, or
Yeah.
that was the preceding fever, panic attack was coming?
No, panic attack, then fever.
Okay.
I know, interesting. And so this particular day I came home from work, and Ben was 9 at the time, my oldest, and I lay down on the sofa and he came up to me with a blanket and placed it over me. I know, I still get a lump in my throat, and
My heart.
yeah, it was, and I remember so clearly lying there thinking something has to change. If my baby has to put a blanket over me, something's not right here.
Right.
And it wasn't just that. I mean, that was a big moment for me, but there had obviously been things leading up to it. Like had less patience with the kids. My capacity was 0, so I would get upset and shout at them for the stupidest of things. Right. And I look back now and I'm like, it wasn't that I was angry. I was lost and desperate. But that moment was I think that was the moment that led me to go to the doctors, and everything changed from there.
My sense, and I'm putting words in your mouth, you weren't yelling at them, you were yelling as a result of what you were feeling.
Yeah.
They just happened to be
Came
there,
out as anger, yeah.
and then they were what you were projecting on, which,
yeah.
It's so hard, but there's that trauma that makes its way, weaves its way through the family, and particularly growing up in England, I assume that stiff upper lip,
Yep.
you never had the opportunity to reconcile those feelings, so it just continued on.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of you that you saw that.
Yeah.
And then you went to see a physician about it.
I did. I went to the doctors, and I was not expecting what I got. I got a slew of diagnoses. So I was diagnosed with depression, with anxiety, with osteoarthritis, and with Hashimoto's, which is an autoimmune thyroid condition. And since then, I've learned that so many women have thyroid issues, throat chakra, not speaking up for ourselves. But it was a catalyst. My body was basically on fire. The inflammation was through the roof. And it had got to a point, this was just, I hadn't heard the nudges or the whispers. I hadn't heard the messages that were telling me to slow down, to stop, because Ben was born in 2008 in June. I got married in August. I went back to school to be a nutritionist in the September, and then trying to build a business, trying to work, then have another kid. It's just, and my husband was self-employed. It was constant striving, doing, hustling. There was no being, there was no presence. So this was the final straw. I hadn't listened, and I say my body literally brought me to my knees.
Yeah. One of my favorite books, and I often say this, is The Body Keeps Score.
Yes.
Right?
Amazing book.
I'm on my 3rd reading of it because I think it's so amazing, scary, fascinating how we harbor that trauma, that pain, and comes out in different ways.
Oh yeah, manifests so differently in every single person.
And then the straw broke.
Yep.
The camel's back.
Literally.
And then you decided to go get help.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I knew I had to make a choice. I could continue down the path that I was on, get myself better, but go back to the old ways. And that there was something inside me that scared me about doing that, because I think I knew that it was going to happen again. It wasn't going to change, because you put the Band-Aid on it, but you don't get to the root of it.
Right.
And being a nutritionist, that was a big part of being a nutritionist. You have to get to the root of the issue. So I think having that knowledge, it scared me. And then so I went to therapy. I went to my first yoga class, and everything changed from there. I stepped back from work for a while and began the healing journey that I am still on.
That's fantastic.
Today.
That's fantastic. So you mentioned, you talk about the throat chakras and stuff, so you've done a lot of growth since then. But you don't go into your first yoga class saying, hey, I'm going to heal my throat chakra.
I didn't even know what a chakra was at that time.
Can you talk about, do you remember that first yoga class that you stepped into?
So clearly. I remember being petrified. Because it was walking into somewhere new. Like, I tried yoga before, but the only yoga I'd ever tried was in my 20s at a gym, and I hated it. And I was a very different place then, and it was a different type of yoga. And I didn't have any energy at this time. Like, I was literally so depleted that my first yoga class was restorative yoga. And I went there not knowing what to expect. I knew, like, I'd read the description and it sounded very slow and calming, I knew that's what I needed. But anybody who doesn't know restorative yoga is like, in an hour-long class, you will do like maybe 4 or 5 poses. You use a lot of props. It's not about stretching your body. It's not about flexibility. It's about calming your nervous system, resetting your nervous system. So there's a lot of stillness. And what I didn't know, this was why I think yoga changed my life, was what I didn't know from my body being still, which it hadn't done for decades. Didn't mean my mind was still. It meant that I became aware of what was going on in my mind. And that's
a scary place to be.
Very.
Because as soon as you said restore, I'm like, oh my gosh, because now you have to, because you're a good girl, right? You can't get up and leave.
No, and you have to stay still.
And your mind's like, I'm assuming like,
mile a minute, and the things that came up. But I went back and I kept going back.
I was going to ask you why.
Yeah, because there was something that drew me to it. Like, I did feel good coming out of it. That rest was so good for me. It was exactly what I needed. And it was a safe space. And I think it was community too, which I think I was searching for, which is a big part of what I do. And then, my yoga journey built from there. So I didn't... Like, restorative has always been a part of my yoga journey. But I then did, as I got my strength back, I, tried other yoga classes. And just because that's the beauty of yoga, is there's so many different types of yoga. There's something for everybody. And I don't think I realized that in the beginning. I thought there was your vinyasa flow.
Right.
That was it.
Right. Yoga's just stretching.
Yeah.
I'm going to go there
or
for
a workout.
Yep. I'm going to turn my watch on if I need to count my calories or my steps. And I'm going to, because vinyasa is cardio, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to stretch cardio, and then I'm going to go.
Yeah. That was exactly the mindset I had. It was just a workout, and yoga taught me something completely different.
Shavasana. Much like restorative.
Yeah, very much like normally, 5 or 10 minutes still. Yeah, it's a whole different, but it's beautiful. Like, it changed my life.
How long did it take you to start enjoying Shavasana, restorative? Or did you say, you know what, I'm just going to go and do something else that's more movement orientated, or I'm going to stick with this because I think it's helping or hindering or healing?
That was it for me. Like, I stuck with yoga. I did restorative for a while, and then I took a beginner course in yoga at the same studio, which I thought was beautiful, because I think it's a very important thing to do for people who've never done yoga before, to do a beginner's course to learn the basic poses. Because if you go straight into from doing nothing, or like me, restorative, straight into a vinyasa flow, you're likely to injure yourself because you don't know how to do the poses correctly, and you're moving fast in a lot of them, hey? And so for me, I just gradually built things up. And so that was what I think was my savior, is restorative still continued to be a part, but maybe after a few weeks I brought in one flow class, like a gentle flow. It was always like a gentle starting there. I'd learnt that I needed to be gentle with myself, and that was the path that I was on. And being in therapy also helped, because she was helping me peel back these beliefs that I'd had since, probably stemming back to the relationship with my dad. And there was a lot of things that I was doing because I thought I should be, like high intensity workouts, like trying to learn skiing because my husband's family and my kids love skiing, but I hated it. I was a stress ball every time I did it. So all of these things, it was really unpacking, okay, and getting to know, what do I really need? What do I really want? Not what everyone else around loves to do and wants, but what do I really want and need? And that was doing that alongside the yoga helped me build a yoga practice that felt very authentic.
So therapy and yoga were parallel to each other. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that. And one of the things I hear a lot about this podcast is rest, community, embodiment, stillness. That and everyone says the same thing. I hated it when I was first on the road. I hated it. Which I find absolutely fascinating, that people keep coming back even though they hate it. So that something triggers it. But you decided to become a yoga teacher.
I did.
Tell me, like, what prompted that?
In 2020, so COVID, I was a COVID yoga teacher. I initially chose to do it or explored it because I wanted to deepen my own personal yoga practice. I wanted to learn, I remember thinking I wanted to learn how to do my own practice at home without having to have a teacher in front of me. Love the classes because it's that community aspect, but I felt like because I am like that perfectionist tendency and I control, I wanted to learn how to do it in a more freeing way without always being told what to do. So that was my big reason for going in. And I think subconsciously, I knew it was going to deepen the connection to myself. I think there was that drawing me to it, but I don't think I could have articulated that at the beginning. But the process of going through that training, it just took me to a deeper level in myself. Because as we know, who've all done yoga teacher training, and the poses are just one limb. There's so much more to yoga. It's so deeply spiritual, and it's about living your life the most authentic way, the way that you're meant to, on a soul level. And that is what I fell in love with in my yoga teacher training, and that is what I try to bring across in my classes that I teach. One of my students said to me, your yoga is from the inside out.
Right.
Because it is. Yes, we like to move, sometimes not in restorative, but it's so much bigger than the movement piece. And that's that's why I wanted to teach, because I never went into it with the intention of teaching. I went into it with the intention of deepening my own practice. But as with yoga teacher training, we have to do a certain number of hours teaching to get our certificate. And as soon as I started doing that, yes, it was scary and petrifying and what am I doing? And, that whole like imposter syndrome. But the more that I did it, the more that I'm like, this is what I'm meant to do. Because it wasn't only deepening my own journey, but it was also allowing me to share my journey in a way with other women and men. I primarily work with women, but there are so many of us out there that felt like I did, or that are exhausted and stressed out and burnt out, and maybe this time on their mat is the only hour that they take for themselves all week.
Right. I love teaching because I give to somebody else.
Yes.
And I remember I used to work at food banks and stuff, and I always felt guilty working there because I felt I was being more blessed than I was giving. And that's how I feel with teaching yoga. I always I want to give, but I don't know, their energy or their emotions or their spirit gives back to me. And there's a teeny bit of guilt as in, I wish I could give more to them because I took more. Does that, because you mentioned about spirituality and giving, does that resonate with you, or you're like, nope, I just like doing something else with when I'm teaching a class?
I think I felt like that more at the beginning. There was, guilt there was worry there was, I would overthink it, do they like my class, all of that. But that I knew was the ego stepping in. So the more that I have done the teaching, the more that I have continued on my own journey, I think I've learned. And it's funny, there's social media posts going around right now, and there's pictures of mats in a yoga class, and there's like phrases next to each mat, like what somebody's going through, like lost their job, grieving somebody, all of this. And I have learned from the students that have come to my classes, because you don't just go to one class, you often build a community. And so you speak with them more, they get more comfortable with you, and you often hear their stories as to why they came to yoga, and every single one is different. And so I'm like you in the fact that I take it as an honor for me to be able to stand at the front of that class and to give them a safe space for that hour, however long they're there, to take whatever they need. And if that means lying in Shavasana for the whole class, beautiful. Mm-hmm. But they have had the courage to walk into that class, which I remember how scary it is, to lay down their mat, and maybe some of them have had to make arrangements for their family or have had to really set a firm boundary. And again, I know how important that is and how much energy it takes. And so the time that they are with me is so precious that I come out of there always feeling so full. And like you said, we do walk away feeling that we have received so much.
And I love that social media post, because everybody has a story, and everybody who comes in wears a mask.
Yes.
And people who are late are doing it for different reasons. I had a woman in my class yesterday, single mom, can only come to this class. She needs it. But there's all the childcare arrangements, and there's financial constraints, and she's like, oh, I wouldn't miss this. I wouldn't miss it, because this is my time to give to myself. And I think sometimes we forget, when we're in a class, that person beside us has a different reason for being here. And being able to share those stories and feel that energy in the room is such a gift to people. I don't want to speak so much because this is about you.
No, but you're absolutely spot. A gift. The word, a gift is, which I never expected stepping into my first yoga class or stepping into the teacher training. Yeah. I never imagined it would be such a gift.
And it's so different. And this is what boggles my mind about yoga. I went for a run last night on the treadmill because the weather was dictating that I did that. Didn't talk to anybody else in the room. I was there by myself. On the treadmill, there's a few people down on the treadmill, all doing our own thing, no interaction. I went in, I could have been by myself. I left, I could have been by myself. Yoga's different. Yeah. Never do I not talk to anybody when I'm in a class. And that's what I love.
It's the community piece, 100%. Which is, I think, so important in this day and age. And I think going through COVID especially, we lost a lot of that community. And I think this is the work that I do with women. It's giving them a space where they feel seen and heard, and it's a safe space, because you can have a beautiful community around you. Like the experience that I went through personally, like I had an amazing family, I had amazing friends, but I didn't talk to them about how I was feeling. I shoved all that down. Whereas I feel there's something about yoga, the more you come and the more you've seen the same people and you build that community and you know it's a safe space and you feel it, you feel supported and you feel seen, and that is such a game changer.
Yeah, and going back to her space, right, that community. I went in, I was curious, but there was a woman who, it was her birthday, and that was the gift she gave to herself. Right, she gave herself this gift. She has a partner and kids, but that was her gift because she wanted to connect with others. And I was like, this is absolutely beautiful. And I had this wonderful conversation. I think you're actually like, okay, wrap it
I know. It could go on for hours. As soon as you get a group of women, it takes a little while to open up. And that's why I created that space, because it's about having real conversations with real people.
Yeah. What brought you to that point of creating that? Like, what was kind of the impetus to be like, I'm going to create this? Because that's kind of brave. You just putting it out there, or was there a story behind that?
Yeah, no. Well, one of my friends had said to me, because it's held at Planted Cafe here in Orangeville, owned by Alex and Blair, who are amazing, and it's such a great space. And she messaged me one day from there. She said, this would be such a great place to have, like, run a yoga class. I'm like, you can't run a yoga class there. It's just not set up for it. But it would be a great place to bring us together. And that's a big part of the work that I do, and has been since I've been teaching yoga, is that community aspect. And the more work that I do with women, the more I realize this is what we are missing. And yes, there are networking events you can go to, there's this, there's that, but I wanted to create a space for these real conversations, you know, because there are so many women out there that I'd spoken to that wanted somewhere like this. And that was really underneath it was petrified again the first time. Anytime I do something new, I'm like, oh my goodness, how, you know, the imposter syndrome comes in, and is this really needed? And then after that first one, you're like, this is why I'm doing it.
Yeah. And what amazed me was there were so many different ages.
Yes.
I'm guessing there was probably mid-20s to 60.
Yeah.
And we all sat at the table.
Yeah.
And I felt it gave me permission to be wise, someone like giving advice because of my journey. And I learned from somebody who's 25 who's like, you know, my profession is not as important, it's about being present. I'm like, oh, I know. Just a gentle reminder about the importance of just being present from someone who's half my age.
That's it. And the stories, the experiences you learn about. And there's a group of the younger group. They didn't know each other, and I watch them on social media now. They all go on hikes together, and I think that's a really important thing for the younger generation, because it's not always the thing to do. Hey, whereas these young women are so much more at home in themselves than I ever was, and they can be true with each other. Going for a hike is what they love to do versus going out clubbing and getting drunk, which is what I used to do in my 20s.
or in 2025, sitting behind a screen.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Here you and I are in a space together.
Yeah.
Here's a bunch of people being out in the forest and hiking and enjoying each other's company, whether it's in silence or whether it's in conversation. Yeah. I love what you've created. Speaking of going out into the forest, you talked about your meditation is in nature. Where did that come from, and what do you get from being in nature?
Well, I tried meditation for many years.
It's hard. 100%.
Because initially my thought of meditation is, well, you sit in silence, cross-legged normally, hands
on your knees in a specific mudra,
eyes closed, and you're supposed to sit like that for 30 minutes.
Empty mind.
And so I was trying this at the same time I was trying restorative yoga, and so my mind was not calm at that time. The practices I was doing had not reached my mind then, and it was like pulling teeth. I would come out even more frustrated. And so around that time I began walking. I didn't have a dog at that time, but my husband was like, why don't you just go and walk around Island Lake? Like, just start getting yourself out, building up your energy. And so as soon as I started doing that, it's like, there's something to this. My mind would clear naturally. I just feel more grounded. And then I got a dog. And so we go hiking regularly. And I just get that same feeling every time I'm in nature. My mind clears, I get inspiration, I hear the whispers, I feel the nudges. Everything else just gets put aside just for, 45 minutes, an hour, whatever it may be. And that I've learned is my meditation. And I've learned throughout the years that meditation can be however you want it to be. And I think that's an important thing that we need to share, because people think meditation has to be just this sitting quietly. Meditation could be putting on your favorite song and dancing in the kitchen to it. Right. Meditation is about mindfulness. It's about being present and being with yourself.
Right. I love that you say this, because I've shared on this podcast the first time I went to this whole body challenge, and we were to do different things. And the thing that we had to do was meditation. And I set my watch, I think, for 5 minutes. And I think I made it 30 seconds. And I said, this is bullshit. Because I'm like, I can't sit here quietly for 5 minutes, because I'm supposed to empty my mind. and now I know.
Yeah.
Right. And I too, I go for walks, I go for hikes. I was, in Costa Rica a few months ago, and it was the swimming, it was the breathing, it was the repetitiveness of the movement where I was just, I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm right here. And there's no negative thoughts. It was just breathe, stroke, breathe, stroke. So,
and even if a thought comes in, you're so much more aware that you can be, that's the thought. Let it go on by. I mean, some days, don't get me wrong, some days it's harder than others. Some days I'll go into the forest and there'll be something on my mind. I've gone in the forest and I've cried. I've gone in the forest and I've screamed. I've gone in the forest and come out of it and I'm like, did I just do that? I wasn't present for any of it. Yeah. It's not about perfect. Yeah. It's about trying. Yeah. And finding what is your way.
Yeah. And then, Brian Hames talked about, he calls himself a forest witch on this podcast. And, it's just simply observing. Yeah. Observing the smells, observing what do you see, observing the sounds, like just exploring the noises, right? Hearing the truck or hearing the bird or hearing the leaves. It's just beautiful.
The crunch of the leaves beneath your feet. I know. I downloaded this bird app this year because I was hearing all these different birds and I'm like, what are these birds? So I can go in the forest now and find out what's in there with me. It's beautiful. I love it.
I love it. You have built a beautiful community of authenticity and self-acceptance. What do you hope others take away from your story and your work?
Oh, that's a big question. I hope that they take away that there is another way, that productivity and achieving goals and striving and hustling and doing is not the only way. There is a more beautiful way of coming home to yourself, because often when we're in that striving mentality, the hustling, the doing that I lived in, I'd lost myself. I didn't know what I wanted, what I liked, what I needed. And I think that's what I really hope by sharing my story, is they can see the journey that I've been on. And has my life changed completely in terms of who is in it? No. My life has changed completely because of me, because of the person that I have become. I have become more of the woman that I was meant to be. I've become more of the woman, the soul that I was born as. It's shedding the layers that we take on so much from other people, from external things, from society, that we make our own story. And the more that we can get clear on who we are, we get to choose our own story. And that's where, I talk a lot about alignment, and that's where alignment is stepping into the person that you were meant to be.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Not wearing the 1,000 faces, right? Like, I'm going into this social group and I put on this mask, and this social group I put on this mask, and it's exhausting. Because sometimes I forget, which mask am I supposed to put on? Because I'm not really sure what group I'm in right now. So to be authentic. Yeah. What a gift. Yeah. And that's self-compassion.
Yes. Oh, that was a tough one to learn.
That you're not perfect.
Yes.
Whatever perfect
Don't
is.
have to be perfect. Yeah. You're perfect exactly as you are. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big one.
I'm still working on that one. Still have my days.
Yeah. Well, and it's a journey. Yeah. Right? It's a journey of ups and downs and learning from the valleys and then succeeding in the hills, and then, it's a journey.
It's a roller coaster. And I think that's the important part. As a nutritionist, I would have women coming to me wanting a plan and thinking that they get to the end of this plan and they get what they want. And I lived my life like that for so long. If I take this supplement, if I eat like this, if I work out like this, there's going to come a point I'm going to reach that end goal. Right. None of that is there. I've learned that this is a journey that I will forever be on until the day my soul leaves my body. Right. And it's a beautiful, hard, tiring journey sometimes, but it is so worth it.
Yeah. So if you could encompass what yoga has taught you, I mean, this is a really big question.
My mind's spinning already.
What would be kind of the takeaways from maybe restorative? Like, what have you learned on the mat that you could take off the mat? I mean, you mentioned a a student said your teaching is an inner teaching, which I love, hence why this podcast is called The Inner Practice. But what do you take from the mat to off the mat?
What I love about being on my mat, whether it's being in stillness or whether it's moving, is that I am present. And so it allows me to connect to myself, whether that be connecting to my breath, whether that be connecting to my mind, whether it be connecting to my heart and what I need and want. And that's what I take every time I step on my mat. That's what I learn. I learn a little bit more about myself and what I need in that time of my life. And I think that's what I take it gives me a lesson, or it gives me a teaching every single time. And it's not always big. And the majority of the time it's not a big teaching. The majority of the time it's like, oh wow, you've been holding your breath today. Right. Or wow, your mind is still on that one thought. What's going on here? Let's delve a little deeper. Or wow, my hip was a little sore today. So you see, when it can be so many different things, but I tell you, there's not one day that I roll my mat up and I haven't taken something from it.
Right. You know, that sense of recognizing, I am holding my breath.
Yeah.
Why am I holding my breath? Maybe if I just come back to my breath. Or why am I experiencing hip pain? Is there tightness? Should I breathe into that and release those muscles? I love that about that embodiment, that sense of acknowledging what you're feeling and almost having a medicine to treat it.
Yeah.
Or keep exploring what medicine works to treat this.
Finding your way. I always tell my clients that, all the practices that I give them are to go into your magical toolbox.
Right.
Because you build up these practices over time and they're there for you to reach on depending on what is going on. And don't you find, like, when you're teaching a yoga class, and there'll be often a lot of the cues I give, a lot of the cues that I think about myself. So it's like, okay, and take a deep breath, stop holding your breath, and you see the whole class just exhale, and it's like, okay, I wasn't the only one that needed that.
I love that, because to me it's a symphony, because I love to say inhale, revolve, exhale, extend it, and you can hear them all breathing.
Yeah, isn't it beautiful?
I'm getting goosebumps right now, because I smile inwardly. They have no idea.
No.
But it makes me so joyful to hear this community of breath that's occurring. That's why I say I'm so blessed by hearing them release. Oh my gosh,
I know. This is why we do it.
I'm going to sit by the fire a little closer because I have my goosebumps here. Wow, Mel. Mel, where do you think you would be today if you hadn't found yoga or meditation?
Wow. That's probably still in therapy every week. It's like what I said earlier about I was at that point where I had a choice to make. If I hadn't found yoga and meditation, maybe I would have gone back on that same path, because I don't think I would be as present. I don't think I would be as much aware. I don't think I would have as much self-compassion or kindness for myself. I don't think I would have grown in the ways. So I can't specifically say where I'd be, but I don't think I would be in the beautiful life that I'm in now, or as good of a place.
Yeah, you have a real heart for women.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about kind of your business and what it is that you can offer women who might be struggling?
Sure. So, yes, I live in a house full of boys, but I work primarily with women. And my husband's always like, why don't you work with men? Men are welcome to my yoga classes. But the work that I do, the reason I do it is because I remember how I felt 2017 and how I felt leading up to that. I felt alone. I didn't feel seen or heard. I didn't know how to communicate. I didn't know how to name my feelings. I didn't know what to do. I was lost. I didn't recognize who I was anymore. And so the work that I do, other than teaching yoga and running retreats, is primarily the aligned woman. So this is my membership. And it is a safe space. It's online. It's a safe space for women to come and feel that community. There's private community where you can chat, you can share your wins, your struggles. You can share as much or as little as you want. I offer, like, within this community, there's like monthly soul themes. Within that theme, you get journaling prompts. You have live online soul circles. It's a way of, a big part of the work is that I brought in a framework, which is everything that I have gone through, the tools that I have used, put in this method, which is called the Align method. So the A stands for awareness, L stands for love, kindness, self-compassion, I is intuition, G is growth, and N is nurture. So all of these pillars build on each of the last one, and it really is the journey that I have gone through. And it's all self-paced. You can do as much or as little of it as you want. And there's options within the membership to do one-on-one coaching. There's different levels as to what you feel. But my main, it's a community. It's a safe space for women to come and to heal and to walk their journey alongside other women who get it.
And so I don't have to be in Orangeville, Ontario. I can be in Kuala Lumpur,
Costa Rica, Australia. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
What a gift you are giving people. I have to say, I'm a mom to 2 boys as well. And, you know, maybe you can listen to your husband and branch into men, because we both know, I'm sure, that men need healing. A lot of healing.
Yes. This is why I believe, like, I'm breaking generational cycles with my boys. My boys are like me. They are heart-led and compassionate and sensitive beings. And yes, there is a lot of work that needs doing. So who knows where this will go? Starting with my sons and my husband, a lot of growth there. And then, but yeah, it's beautiful that we have been able to see, I think, that men are talking about these things more.
And they can come to your yoga classes.
Yes.
Which is fantastic.
And maybe we'll do a branch off for men in the Aligned Man.
Yes. Mel, if people want to contact you, how do they contact you?
Yeah, best way, I'm on Instagram. I'm on there very regularly. So Melanie Grime RHN is my handle. And you can go to my website to find out more about the membership, which is melaniegrimerhn.com.
Which I will put in the show notes.
Awesome.
Yeah. One last question, Mel, before we leave. And this is a tough question. What would you have told your younger self in England if you could go speak to her now?
Do you know what? I think about this a lot. This comes up in journaling and meditation and that for me. And the first thing I would do is give her a big hug, arms wide open, and just tell her that I see her and I hear her and that I love her and that she is loved and that she is everything that she needs to be. She's perfect as she is, and that there is a beautiful life awaiting for her. She just has to keep on going. Yeah,
that is so beautiful. Oh, you know, people out there listening who have little ones, maybe you could just do that now.
Yes.
Right? Just speak to your daughters and sons and say just exactly that. Well, Mel, I can't thank you enough. This has been so rewarding. I just look at the time and I'm always blown away by how much we've spent almost an hour just chatting.
Yeah, wow.
And it has been so fulfilling and so heartwarming. I thank you for the work that you've done. I thank you for the honor of being able to speak to you and share your story.
Oh, thank you. It's really been a pleasure. I've loved every second of it. Thanks, Jackie.
Mel, thank you for sharing your story with such honesty and heart. Your journey from silence to self-expression reminds us that healing begins when we allow ourselves to be real, to feel, to falter, and to find our way back home to who we truly are. For anyone listening who resonates with Mel's story, know that you are not alone. Healing is possible, and it often begins with simply saying yes to yourself. This episode is sponsored by Jackie Vandertoon Therapy, incorporating treatment of musculoskeletal disorders with the healing power of yoga therapy. If you enjoyed this episode, please like or follow or share this episode with someone who needs healing. As always, I would love to hear your thoughts on this podcast or just in general. Please feel free to send me a message and let me know how Mel's story resonated with you. Thank you for joining us on The Inner Practice. Until next time, keep listening inward.